Okay, these ones are always fun. House update, but still haven't moved in yet. I feel like it's a bit of deja vu. So if you've tuned into the channel, watched any of my stuff over the past couple of years, you should know that I'm currently building a new spot. It's been 4 total years, so many delays. I feel like I've given you guys a lot of updates, a lot of teasers, but we are 90% done, so we're planning to move in by this summer. If it doesn't happen, there's gonna be some problems, some really tough conversations with my contractor, but thought I'd give an update on where that's sitting at and obviously what has to change from where we're living now, from the studio that I'm recording in, because all of that is coming into that one new place. So this is kind of a hybrid update, what needs to happen, and some house content, because you guys deserve it. First and foremost, I need to apologize to a lot of brands that I've promised content. I swear that this stuff is out of my control. I wish I could create it sooner. I am gonna do a lot more home content as I move in. So this is actually the first piece. This is like a piece of tech that I plan to not only carry with me to the new spot, it actually applies to all the places that we're gonna kind of cover now. This is the new Dreame Z30 or Z30 if you're in the US, cordless vacuum. I initially unboxed it in this condo and have tested it here where I'm currently living. So this is the place that I need to move from. I've been in this spot now for 5 years. I'm in downtown Toronto. This place has been home for me. It's a great run. This is where we first got Link. He's literally like off camera right now, having a snooze on the couch. This is a place that I either need to rent out or to sell. And if you live in Canada, if you're familiar with like taxation, your primary residence, which is a place that you live in primarily, that place does not get taxed if you sell it. But say I were to still own this, moved into the new house and kept this for another couple years and sold it down the road, I would then get taxed pretty heavily. And we've actually just had an increase of capital gains on what you sell of your non-primary residence up to 66%, because that's ridiculous. So it makes a lot of sense to sell this. But before we get into those details, let me take you through a tour of my current spot, how I clean it with this guy, the Z30, and we can go from there. So what I kind of love about this floor plan is how there is no wasted space. You go from just entering to the living room, to the kitchen, to this just, I guess, one large area room that is used for the main part of living. And what's great about the Z30, not just with my place, but any household, you have different surfaces. So whether you've got hardwood, you've got carpets, you've got doggos there that like to bring in a lot of dirt, this guy's able to handle it. Its main strength comes in with all the different attachments. So in my initial unboxing, I saw that it has so many different ones inside of the box. For example, when you're on hardwood, it's got an attachment for that. When you're on carpet, it's got an attachment for that. When you've got a dog that has 4 different beds in the house, you've got an attachment for that as well. It's just a really versatile everyday cleaner. And like I said, it's the only vacuum that I use in my entire place. So the suction power has to be there. It has 150,000 RPM. It's got smart cleaning and it adjusts the suction power based on the size of debris. So say you're in the kitchen, for example, we've got maybe like little bits of food sticking around, grains of rice, or whereas in the living room or where Link likes to come in, since it is the spring right now, he brings back some mud, a lot of like sand from his walks outside. Those are a bit finer. And what I found really useful is the illumination technology on multiple heads. If you ever want to see how truly dirty your floor is, you can shine that little light in nooks and crannies and you can see where a lot of that dust and debris likes to live. And like I said, it's able to clean all 1,700-ish square feet of this place, including this little dude who likes to bring in some extra little dirt, but he makes our lives so much better. But if I were to look up what this place could kind of go for, let me just pull that up on my comp here. So just pulling up online some comparables from my building, you can see a lot of terminated ones, but one did sell 3.05. Toronto real estate is just wild. And I know that the condo market has taken a bit of a plunge lately, but yeah, lots of terminated, expired. If I can get anything close to that, we are laughing. I want to show you something cool though. Link, do you remember who this is from? So for any of you Toronto fans out there, good old Austin Matthews from the Toronto Maple Leafs used to live in this building. He actually signed this jersey right before he moved out. He used to walk his dog with Link. His dog's name was Felix. Link, do you remember who Felix was? Anyways, he used to rent here. I know what he paid, which was also a ridiculous amount. So there's always that option, but I always have to remember primary residence. I don't want to get stuck with paying capital gains, the crazy amount of tax. I feel like we pay enough tax here in Canada as is. That's like a whole separate video. But yeah, that is option one. I always try to think of this as like a business sense. Obviously creating content, real estate are two big sources of income for me. So from here, let's make a switch to this spot, which is the studio that I think like 98% of my content is shot in. You guys are pretty familiar with it. And I got this spot right at the start of COVID. So for the past like 4 or 5 years, it's been absolutely great. It has served me really well as a studio. And it's been great for filming because it's all open concept. It's just essentially this one large open space. It's a loft. So this used to be a stable factory back in the day. It's classified actually as a historic building, but a lot of work has been done. This is where my iconic orange wall is, where I collect all things orange. You know that I have an addiction. But in the end, it is a residential unit where you see the kitchen. Obviously, this used to be where like the dining room was. Squat rack, this was super handy during COVID. The primary bedroom back there, which is now just storage, and of course the entryway, and you can see Link just hanging out, keeping guard. And over the past couple months, I have been slowly trying to declutter the space, kind of move boxes over, and of course clean it. And what's great with the Z30, this has around 90 minutes of runtime, so even since I've come from, say, home to here, I'm still using it without having to charge it. And the Z30 has battery adjustment through smart suction adjustment, so in this space, it isn't as dirty as, say, home. Most of the surface here is just this hardwood, which I actually installed myself. That was a lot of work. I actually have just one carpet when we first got Link. You can see his food and water bowl there, and when Link was a little puppy, he had a little potty training mistake right over there, so this will be thrown out before we move out. But yeah, this entire space, around 15-ish hundred square feet. And the goal is to rent this place as a residential unit. So let's break that down. And if we look up some other comparables, we can see this one October 30th. So this was leased for $3,200 and it is around 750-ish square feet. So if we do 3,200 divide by, it was 750, let's equals, we're using math notes here. So $4.26-ish per square foot. So if we have like another example, one was rented 6 months ago, $3,400, and it was between 800 to 900. So let's say 850. 50, that equals, so we're around that, say, $4 per square foot mark. So if we take this size, which is 1550, equals, so $6,200. I feel like that's a lot for rent. And then if you multiply that by 12 for the amount of months, we get a cool $74,000 a year in potential rental income. Obviously minus condo fees, but you can see where that is very good potential. And if you remember my older studio where I first made videos, so for example, one of these puppies, 8 years ago. This spot right here, which is also in Toronto, is currently being rented out. So that's kind of part of my portfolio for investing into real estate, investing into myself through the content that I make. And it's always cool to check out some of these older videos from time to time. So that's my thought process for my studio. Let's head to what you guys have been waiting for. It's the house update. So last spot, we pulled up to the house. You can see the state of it. So the outside is actually almost done. The last pieces are actually these little slats that are gonna go over the garage, and this little piece, or this trim here, which is in the same material. And other than that, the exterior is done. It's close to 50% of the house is actually in glass. And you can actually see up top the studio there with some of the studio lights already mounted, but let's get inside. Okay, I'm back. So this is the current state of where everything's sitting. You can actually see we are close to being done. So obviously there's people working inside, which is fine, but you can see millwork, stone is in, kitchen is almost done. We just have a couple more panels this way. All of the glass is done. Link is hanging out next to the tripod. This is where the main living room TV will be mounted for there. Link, why are you crying? It's because you want to see this TV mounted, I bet. Just waiting on the last piece of millwork for there. You can see the main area where they are just kind of working on the last pieces of trim that have to go in, but fireplace is done, stairs are done. Final little pieces like this, little trim pieces for the floor have to be put in. Into the coolest room, in my opinion, the studio. So like I said, from the outside, that's where you saw the studio lights being mounted. So no more C-stands, no more light stands. Everything is on the ceiling. Now into the primary bedroom. Once again, a bit more slotting going into the corner. That's more of just like a nice feature. And on the other side, we've got bedroom 2, bedroom 3 with a split shared washroom. And once again, all that is done. Where are you going? What's that? And it's honestly very fitting that I'm shooting my first product review here in the studio, as this is where most of the stuff in the future will get done, so you guys are getting a sneak peek. But this vacuum, so this is going to be the main cleaning piece in this house. So if you actually notice, one feature of here is we actually have no baseboards. The detail being the wall hits the floor with a thin little reveal at the bottom. It's super modern, but that means you need a vacuum that can go pretty much right up to the wall. It gets up to 7 millimeters from the wall, which means you're pretty much right up against it and you won't miss any of the debris. It has a HEPA H14 filter built in, which is really great for dust. This place needs a huge de-dusting before we move in. It's also great for allergens, pollen. Like I said, in the spring, all these trees will be in full bloom for pets. Link is technically hypoallergenic, but you never know what he brings into the house. And I'm thinking when everything finally gets finished, this is going to be the location where the vacuum will live. A nice little broom closet slash cleaning closet. Is that where the vacuum's gonna be? Closing the door. You can get that charged. So that is the update. And like I said, there's still a couple moving pieces before we finally get into here. But yeah, I would say this is close to that 90% mark. Still have to sell the current spot, still have to rent out the studio, but that's kind of my thought process around everything, and obviously my first home tech product review here in the new spot. This video was a bit different in the sense where you got a look into, I guess, like the business side of creating content. It's not just the content, it's also the real estate, it's the investment process behind it. So if you're looking for a separate vid on that, I know that's a bit different, but I can go maybe a bit more in depth. Let me know if you like that down below. But hope you guys enjoyed a very good house update, something very real, and I'll catch the rest of you on one of my next ones. Peace.